think the vaccination decision is a private, very private health matter for me.
The Minnesota Vikings is Kirk Cousins.
What do you find works to convince people?
You know, unfortunately, the one thing that has had most impact is watching a loved one die from this virus.
And a leader in his field, epidemiologist Michael Osterholm.
Even if I die, I die. I kind of have peace about that.
You see, while Cousins discards his life like this during the pandemic.
So I'm going to be vigilant about avoiding a close contact. I've even thought about, should I just set up literally plexiglass around where I sit so that this could never happen again? I've thought about it because I'm going to do whatever it takes.
And spews nonsense.
But with regard to education, for example, friends, our textbooks are being rewritten. History is being changed. Culture is being canceled.
With his father Don preaching inside a packed church in the wake of COVID last year.
We have statues of people being torn down.
Here I am in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and we are not being hit as hard as much of the rest of the country yet. And yet we don't have a pediatric intensive care bed open today. All of our critical care beds for people who have heart attacks, seriously ill, they're filled. And COVID has done this in a way that people can only understand. Even if you don't get COVID, hope you don't have a heart attack, hope you don't have a car accident, hope you don't fall off a roof today, because if you did, you would be in deep trouble trying to find the care you need. That's what we have to help people understand.
Well, this is what many who choose not to get vaccinated now have on their hands. All across the country, ICU beds are now being taken by the unvaccinated, when they could have just received the jab and stayed out to let someone else in. In Oregon, once a success story, well, it's now struggling to deal with the effects of Delta. One hospital's ICU beds are completely filled. The youngest patient, 20 years old. At Roseburg, a COVID-19 patient died in its ER last week while waiting for an ICU bed to open. An event that was deeply distressing to the medical staff because of the unvaccinated leading the latest surge and flooding the hospitals. One doctor wrote a patient in Texas had to wait a week for surgery for a gunshot wound. In her hospital, she had to turn away a cancer patient.
It's not just you, it's you playing for the Vikings, Zimmer, your teammates, the state, like health, because your goal can be to stay away from people. But the reality is that this thing right now is catching like wildfire. I just don't know how you can be so confident that this is going to work.
We can agree to disagree on that.
And this is their mentality towards it all. They just disagree and move on. It is an alternative reality. The team recently lost 3 quarterbacks due to close contact protocols in the National Football League. If this occurred during the season, who knows who'd start at quarterback? Would Adam Thielen get reps? So the team played host to Osterholm, the University of Minnesota infectious disease expert, to speak with the team. Earlier this month, the Vikings had the league's lowest COVID-19 vaccination rate among players, according to a league source.
One of the things that isn't really appreciated about these mRNA vaccines, like Pfizer's vaccine, 180 million people have been vaccinated with that vaccine. We have not had a single death associated with the vaccine. Aspirin isn't that safe. I'd tell people to be more worried about taking aspirin than this vaccine.
The Washington Post reported the Vikings were at a grand total of 64.5% of the team being fully vaccinated. It is unacceptable for so many in a contact sport that tests the rigors of the human body to allow and enable COVID to spread further.
Personally, with this Delta variant the way it is right now and the people that are getting infected, I think it's extremely important that everyone gets vaccinated. I just don't understand. I just don't understand that, I think we could put this thing to bed if we'd all do this, but it is what it is.
Thus, you can sense their head coach Mike Zimmer's frustration on the matter. I just care about these players, and I care about their families. So that's my main reason. If they miss a game because of COVID, so be it. But I don't want them to get sick, and I don't want their families to get sick, Zimmer said. One writer in the Minneapolis area, nonetheless, made it crystal clear how we nip this thing in the bud in professional sports. It's time for pro sports leagues to demand the players get vaccinated or simply don't play.